Can you buy a house right now? In the middle of all of this? The answer is coming right up. I cannot tell you how many calls, texts, emails I have gotten in the last few weeks, really the last month and a half, about buying right now. I have a lot of clients that are interested in buying but are a little bit confused about how that's going to look. And you know what? It's going to be different from buying in a non-pandemic time. But the thing to consider is that we're not likely to have a vaccine for a little while. And so there's a good chance that what's happening now with showings and the process of purchasing a home in the East Bay and really most of the country is going to be different for a while. So if you're thinking about buying right now or in 6 months or a year, you're probably going to be looking at some sort of a different situation. Let's talk about what that looks like. So how can you prepare yourself to buy in the middle of this weird time when you can't really see homes? That's really what it's all about. The changes right now that we're seeing are about entering into properties. We want to make sure that our community is safe, that our sellers, that our buyers, that everybody involved in the transaction, from the agents to the stagers, painters, appraisers, inspectors, we want to make sure everybody is as safe as possible. We want to limit the amount of exposure everybody has. So realistically, we can't just let people wander through homes anymore, not for a while. But that means that you can't just wander through homes to find out whether or not you want them to be your home. So what do you do? Well, let's take it a step back first. Now more than ever, let's talk about what the most important steps are in purchasing a home in the middle of all of this craziness. First, get your financing in order. And this means talking to a lender, getting your pre-approval, and not like the pre-approval you had 4 months ago or 2 months ago even. Get a pre-approval, talk to your lender, and make sure that you're still pre-approved, because a lot of lending guidelines have changed in the last 2 months. And they kind of continue to change on a sometimes daily basis, really. The loans that we saw before aren't happening now. Interest rates may be a lot better. In a lot of situations, interest rates are great, but the lending guidelines have changed. So you want to make sure that you are approved to buy a home and that you know exactly what that looks like. Maybe you were approved to buy a home 6 months ago and now you're still pre-approved. You can still buy a home, but perhaps the amount has changed because of different qualifying standards, debt to income ratio, or maybe you qualify for more home now because interest rates have dropped and it's kind of increased your buying power. Whatever the situation may be, you want to understand your individual circumstances very well. So talk to a lender and make sure that you have your financing settled. That's the most important thing. If you need some recommendations, I know a lot of really great lenders who are actively lending right now, and are doing fabulous jobs in the midst of all this chaos and keeping their clients informed the whole way. So, number 1, talk to a lender. Number 2, get a good agent. That could be me. So there are tons of really fabulous agents here in the Bay Area, in the East Bay in particular. I've worked with a lot of great agents. There's somebody out there who's going to be a good fit for you. But you want to make sure right now, once again, more than ever, that you have an agent that is staying on top of market data, that they are staying on top of restrictions and guidelines for showings and really all the addenda that are involved with getting permissions to show, and there's just a whole bunch of paperwork that's on the back end of things that's adjusted a little bit. You want somebody that's knowledgeable about what's happening locally and what needs to happen with your transaction locally. You also want to make sure that your agent is familiar with technology, that they are a good virtual agent, that they are accustomed to using DocuSign, which most of us were, but that they know how to do a virtual open house for you, that they can do a virtual walkthrough. They use various apps, Zoom, Blue Jeans, Teams, just like Marco Polo. There's a billion different apps, and you want to make sure that they actually have experience, administering a transaction virtually. So step 2, good virtual agent. That could be me. And then the third thing is adjust your expectations on how you will be viewing homes. In the past, you would load up in a car with your agent. I would do a grand tour of areas that I think would be a really good fit for you and your family. And we would kind of get to know those locations, and then we would zone in on homes within those locations, and we would go see pretty much everything that we could to make sure that you got exposed to as much of the market as possible, and that you saw all your opportunities. That can't happen right now. I can't put you in my car as much as I would want to. So now we want to kind of adjust what is going to be your home buying experience, your touring experience. We've got a lot of different solutions. I've implemented a lot of different solutions, and I'm always trying out new things to make sure that I've got the best options for my clients. We can do tours in several different ways now. I can be in my car, you can be in your car, and we follow along, and we talk on the phone to each other as we go along, so that you can still get the experience of driving through a neighborhood and seeing it with your own eyes, but also getting my commentary on what to look out for, things that you should know about the neighborhood, and pointing out various shops, schools, different things like that. We can also do a version where you drive on your own and I am just on your phone talking you through it, because I know these neighborhoods backwards and forward. I don't even need to see it. Okay, you're pulling up next to the Wells Fargo. If you look on your left, that home, that kind of thing. We can do a version where I drive through and record myself, and you can kind of go back at your own pace and watch that recording, and maybe even drive through while watching the recording. I've created route maps for some of my clients where I've guided them on like certain areas that they should go, like literally like drive here, look at this, that, the other. And then we talk before and after. There's a lot of various solutions, but it's not going to be everybody in the same car as it used to be. There aren't any open houses anymore. I mean, that was just kind of a massive germ, incoming germ fest with every open house, and we're not really going to be doing that for a while. So you can't casually pop into all these listings. You can't pop into anything anymore. All appointments all showings are by appointment only. So we have to be able to schedule an appointment with the listing agent. There are a lot of guidelines now on how to conduct these as safely as possible, but the ultimate guideline is that virtual showings should be used whenever feasible. More than anything, they want to make sure that we are viewing homes in person that we have to view in person, because we've evaluated everything else about it and we may be missing some information that can't be garnered through a video, some virtual way. Well, that means that we do need to do all those other things first. We need to do all the evaluation we can on a property before we try and go see it. We look online at all of the photos, any virtual tours that they have. There's a lot of Matterport tours, which are kind of like Google Street View, but for a house. We look at video walkthroughs. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible with my own listings, where it's not just, the pretty view of everything. It's, here's what's underneath the stairs, and this is what the water heater looks like, and this is the crawl space. It's dark and dank, but it's there. Trying to provide as much of a view of the home as possible outside of just the marketing shots and everything. I really want people to understand what they're buying with the home. So looking at all of that first, then reviewing the disclosures for the property. Many homes already have their disclosure reports, the investigations from the general home inspector, from the pest inspector, sometimes a roofing report, all sorts of things are already included in the disclosure package. So reviewing that before you go see a home, because maybe in taking a look at that, you'll see, oh, you know what, this is going to need like $25,000 worth of pest work. And that's not something that's in my budget, or I don't have the time to deal with that. We need to move in right away. So, maybe that's not the home for us. Okay, great. Now you don't have to see that home. That's one less home that you have to enter and put yourself at risk and risk others for, and put others at risk for as well. So, evaluating the disclosure packages ahead of time is really important. You may also want to do a drive-by of the neighborhood. Make sure that this is a home that you would like to, a neighborhood that you would like to live in. I'm asking my clients to make sure that they do a drive-by before we schedule a tour. And I'm also offering virtual tours, meaning I, as your agent, will go into the home and walk you through either on a Zoom call or as a Marco Polo app, so you can kind of see it whenever you can. And doing that whole, like if I'm not the listing agent and I don't have all the video for it, I'm doing an individual video for you for that home. And knowing what I do about you and what's important for your home, I can really, okay, well, they really, really care about, having a open floor plan. Well, you can't really tell what the floor plan looks like. Even with the Matterport tour, I get lost in the dollhouse. So you know what? I'm going to walk through that sucker like really carefully, making sure you understand how the living room opens up to the dining room, opens up to the backyard or what have you, right? So making sure that we can utilize these virtual showings as much as possible before we start exposing you to a home. Keep in mind that now sellers have to sanitize the home in between every showing, right? Like if I go see it with you, it's got to be clean before somebody else can go see it. And sometimes there may be 10, 20 people that want to see it in one day. And so that means the agent's got to be there a lot to clean up. And realistically speaking, they're not going to be, sitting outside the house wanting to clean it for people that aren't particularly qualified to purchase a home. So this is why it kind of ties into the step one, find a lender, get pre-approved. A lot of agents are asking for your pre-approval form before they'll allow you to schedule a showing. They will also ask you to sign off on disclosures sometimes, making sure that you actually saw them and you've read them and you know that this house has X, Y, and Z wrong with it, but you're okay with that before you go to see it. And then you also have to sign a waiver, basically, that says that, you have not tested positive for COVID in the last 2 days. You are not showing any symptoms, and that you agreed to limit your touching of things in the house, that you are going to do your best to stay clean, and that you realize that the home is not being professionally cleaned in between showings, though they are trying their best to sanitize it as much as possible. So, you've got to sign a waiver beforehand. It's a lot of work beforehand. You used to just show up at the house at the open house and be like, it smells funny, I don't want it. Now, before you can even find out whether it smells, you have to get through all of this, right? It's definitely different. It is. And it's going to be a little bit of a hassle, but I think that there is a lot of our lives that are shifting, right? Like there's a lot of our practices, a lot of the things that we used to do normally are not happening. So it's just one of those things, one of those adjustments that we have to make. The good news is you can still buy a home. You can still go see a home under certain circumstances and by, meeting certain guidelines. Purchasing a home sight unseen can still happen. I've personally purchased a home sight unseen before and have helped clients do it before pre-COVID, like outside of this era. It's not completely unusual for that to happen. So, having the ability to be able to see it at some point, perhaps not in the same way that you used to, but in some point is still kind of, a gift that we still have. So if you have particular questions about how this process is going to look for you, what it is that you can expect as you search for your perfect home on the market, reach out to me. Give me a call. You can reach me. You just find all my contact info below here. And just give me a call. Let me know what you're looking for, and we can talk about a good strategy for how to make sure that we find it today, keep you safe, keep our community safe. And so if you have any other questions, reach out to me anytime. I look forward to helping you, and I'll see you soon.